Let's be honest, 2024 started strong, but we're in a bit of a drought right now. Thankfully, that's about to end. We have a ton of heavy hitters coming in the second half of 2024. Let's get started. Starting the list off strong, we're going to go with Black Myth Wukong. This is a game that, when it was first revealed, most of us were like, that's not real. That's a tech demo. Well, with a release date in August and a lot of gameplay previews, I think it's safe to assume this game is actually coming. You play as Wukong as he makes his journey to the west, gaining new powers in animal forms and allies. Promising some fast-paced Souls-light action, Wukong might be the best new IP of the year, assuming it doesn't drop the ball. The world, the atmosphere, even the look of the creatures fits perfectly. The only issue I am having currently is that while the combat looks fun, the gameplay previews I've seen, it looks a little light. And what I mean by that is that the hits look a little light, like they're going through the enemies. Like you're not going to feel when you connect with your staff with, what is it called? The Ryu Jingu Bang? Yeah, I'm worried about that. Hopefully I'm wrong, but it did look almost Dynasty Warrior, like hack and slash, as opposed to impactful striking. Still, the previews for this game have been glowing, and we're not going to have to wait long to play it because it's releasing on August 20th, 2024. Well, for PlayStation at least. Next up, we got Frostpunk 2. Frostpunk 2 might be the most difficult game on our list. Most games start you at 0, and you build yourself up from there. Frostpunk 2 starts you at -10 and says, good luck, bud. Building up a city from nothing out in the frigid tundra, you have to survive not only the elements, but your citizens as well. As the leader of the settlement, everything comes down to your decisions and whether or not they're the right ones to make. Your priorities will be placing buildings in the right spot, assigning the right number of citizens to each job, gathering enough food, and of course, getting enough heat. But even if you manage to place all your buildings and get everything correct and your citizens are cool and chill, eventually there will be a choice. Could be a simple choice. Do you need to assign more people to factories, or do we need to get more food? Easy choice right there. Could be a more complicated one, like the one I saw in the preview. One of the jobs that you can do is, of course, mine. And in the mines, the tunnels were getting a little too cramped and a little too small. So the children were like, hey, we'll go down there and mine because we want heat. They went down and the mine started on fire. So you have a choice. Collapse the tunnel, you'll save the coal and lose the kids and put out the fire, or let the fire burn, get the kids out, and you lose the coal. I would have made the same choice that the preview people did. They saved the kids. When the kids came out, they were pissed. They were like, bro, that's our coal, that's our heat. Now what are we going to do? Somehow saving children was the wrong choice in Frostpunk 2. I liken it to juggling with knives. Even if you are the best juggler in the world, eventually a blade's going to cut your hand off. That's what Frostpunk 2 is. You're going to lose some limbs, you're going to lose some fingers, but it's a good time. And as long as you go in knowing that, you should be okay. Frostpunk 2 will release on July 25th, 2024. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit and we're going to head over to Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. This is going to be the opposite of Frostpunk. While you are still placing structures, well, not structures, tables and whatnot, it's not going to be nearly as difficult. I'm a sucker for Zelda games, but man, I am ready to move on from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom world, and this is exactly what Echoes of Wisdom is. Not only is it a new zone, new area, it looks like Link's Awakening to be fair, but you're going to be playing as Zelda for the first time. Unlike Link, you're not actually going to use a sword. You're going to use magic to summon allies or enemies that you defeat to fight alongside you. And on top of that, you're going to be able to summon things like beds, tables, jars, various different objects to basically help you solve puzzles. So it's a little bit more puzzle platformy and then summoning allies to help you. That's also my big worry about it. Like in Zelda, if you're annoyed with an enemy, you can just smack it with your sword until it's dead. What if I don't have a goblin to summon or something? What happens then? Am I just screwed? Either way, you are the Princess of Hyrule, and your kingdom is under attack by these mysterious rifts that are consuming your citizens. Link's gone. Someone's got to save the day. So, perfect time for Princess Zelda to jump in. We just had Princess Peach's game, so why not? Give it a go. The art style's not amazing, but I liked Link's Awakening, so we're going to give it a go. That game releases on September 26th, and probably will be the last OG Switch Zelda. Now going from the nice charming world of Hyrule to the hectic Warhammer universe, Space Marine 2. If you haven't played Space Marine 1, Really fun game. You don't have to go back to it since Space Marine 2 is coming out, but if you like the idea of playing a power armored individual against swarms of alien hordes with your friends, this is the game for you. Playing as a Space Marine, duh, you will fight back hordes of Xenos to keep the galaxy safe from the alien threat. Yes, there's guns, there's flamethrowers, grenades, sniper rifles, all of that business, but we all know why we're here. You're here for one of two reasons: to use a warhammer or to use the chainsword, both of which are present and both are ready to claim the lives of the Xeno enemy in front of you. And the devs also spoke of something called the swarm system, and it sort of reminded me of Days Gone or World War Z, where you'd have these hordes of enemies. They said hundreds on top of you, which means you could probably get overwhelmed pretty quickly. On the flip side of that though, you could just activate your chainsword and cut down hordes of enemies. Space Marine 2 is currently scheduled to launch on September 9th. Sticking with space, sort of, we're going to go to Star Wars Outlaws, which, yes, finally we have a single-player Star Wars game that doesn't involve Jedis and lightsabers. I'm sure there's been others, but the last one I remember is the 64 game's Shadow of the Empire, where he played Dash Rendar. Outlaws follows K-Vess, a space outlaw who is looking to attempt one of the biggest heists the Outer Rim has ever seen. Which is pretty big words considering that Leia literally stole the Death Star plans. I don't know. I know it wasn't Outer Rim, but that's a pretty big freaking heist. The game takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, so you're probably going to see some notable characters, but it's all about rep. This is pretty common in Ubisoft games. You build up rep, and then if you build up rep high enough, you get rewards. The difference here is that you are building rep with gangs. So if you build rep with the Pikes, the Hutts are not going to be happy with you. Vice versa, because you're working for the enemy, quote unquote. And of course, there's going to be decisions. If you do this, the Hutts will hunt you down. If you do this, the Pikes will give you new upgrades for your ships. It's going to be about who you want to work for. Previews for the game have been pretty glowing. The only downside I've seen, and this is a typical Ubisoft thing, is that the sneaking mechanics, while the sneaking's fine, the AI for the stealth detection is as bad as usual. Basically, if you are not directly in front of the enemy, they won't see you, which you might be like, well, that's good, that's how I want it. But then I'm sitting there like, why am I even sneaking at all? Why don't I just shoot these guys if they literally are going to let me walk right by them? I don't know. Stealth is silly, and you're never going to convince me that you're not wasting my time making me play longer by doing these stealth sections. Yes, they break up the pace, but if I've got a blaster and I'm just going to end up shooting anyways, let me start shooting. That's why the new Assassin's Creed games are great. Which, hey, let's go ahead and jump right into the next Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed Shadows coming up. That'll be the next game on our list. This one I am hyped for. This is the Assassin's Creed we've been asking for since, what, 2? Japan Assassin's Creed. It's a no-brainer. Ubisoft is in such a crappy position right now. This is what they have to do. Here's the thing. Star Wars and Assassin's Creed have to sell. If they don't sell, Ubisoft legitimately is in trouble. I'm not concerned. They're going to sell well. Anyways, Assassin's Creed Shadow is in the newer style, so it is the epic RPG with choices, exploration, gear, and all of that business. And you will play as either Yusuke, I think that's how it's pronounced anyways, and he is the big samurai guy, the big brute. You see him using a club, one of those old school giant clubs, which I'm really hyped to do. And you've also seen him legitimately charge through walls, Juggernaut style, so yeah. On the flip side of that, we have Noe. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce her name, but she is a shinobi assassin or a ninja if you prefer. That's the more sneaky stealth style for those of us who prefer that method. You can switch actively between the two in most instances, but some missions it's going to be for one or the other. And due to when this game takes place, Japan is already consumed in civil war. I'm not sure if we're going to follow Nobunaga to the end, or if it's going to be intro sort of thing where Nobunaga gets taken out, and then even more chaos is going through Japan because Yusuke is Nobunaga's retainer. So it would make sense that you are actually helping with the war effort. That's something that Assassin's Creed's been doing. In Odyssey, you literally fought wars, quote unquote. And then of course Valhalla, you took new spots for your settlement. So most likely you're helping the war effort in some way, shape, or form. The game will release on November 12th. Next up, we got Power Rangers, Rita's Rewind. Go, go, Power Rangers. I'm sure I can't use that song, unfortunately, but yeah. If you can't tell, I'm a pretty big Power Rangers fan. I grew up watching the series, and yeah, I love beating up putty men, and I love beat 'em ups, so match made in heaven for Power Rangers Rita's Rewind. Sporting 5-player co-op, you can play any ranger you want as you face the evil hordes of Rita's minions. Not much of the game has actually been shown because it was just revealed a couple of weeks ago, but we did see Goldar, and we also seen monsters getting turned into giants, which of course means you get to use the Megazord. And they actually showed it in first person where you were punching with the Megazord. It was really funny. Also, you get to beat down putty patrollers. Why not? No word on the green or white ranger, but normally these games have unlock, so I'm assuming you beat the game and you'll get the green and white ranger and maybe the Dragon Zord, or it'll be DLC, which would suck, but you know, people will pay. Now, if we could just get an X-Men game in this style, I'd basically be set. I'd have everything. Turtles, New Streets of Rage, Power Rangers, and X-Men. Yes. Anyways, the game's supposed to come out in 2024. No official release date outside of that. Would not be surprised if it got pushed, but I'm putting my energy out there that I want it this year. Next up on the list, we have got Terminator Survivors, which admittedly does not have much of anything shown outside of a couple of trailers at this point. And it's been the PC gaming show, the whole Summer Game Fest is over, so I'm a little worried this one's not going to hit this year. But when it comes to survival games, you got to do something really cool or be based on a good IP for me to get excited. And I'm a huge Terminator fan. Same reason I'm excited for the Dune survival game, because I'm a really big fan of Dune. In Terminator Survivors, however, I mean, the name literally tells you it. You are building up a base to survive against the Terminators, the T-800s. And again, we haven't exactly seen all the enemies, but I'm hoping maybe a T-1000. Here's what I'm picturing, right? You're out gathering your berries and your fiber, because you do that in every single one of these games, and you see a deer and you're like, oh cool, I'm gonna hunt that, that's some good food, probably keep us fed for a few days. And you know, shoot your gun, arrow, whatever, and then it's like bloop, and it's like, oh crap, and then it just turns into a T-1000 and the music starts and it's and you can't escape because it's liquid, so it'll slip right through your doors. That's way more advanced than what this game's probably gonna be, but that's where I'm at because you haven't shown me anything yet. So show some damn gameplay. Anyways, the game's supposed to come out in October in early access. We'll see what happens. And number 9, I know I didn't actually number any of these, but to let you know, we've got 2 left. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Astrobot. I'm not a super big platformer guy, but this game, here's the thing about this game. They showed 2 things. Sony showed 2 things. Concord and Astrobot. If we're gonna support one of these, it needs to be Astrobot, because holy shit, Concord looks like a train wreck. But in Astrobot, you will play, of course, as Astrobot. It is a platformer, so think like Mario, and you're going to explore various worlds, solve puzzles, but the most important thing is the nostalgia factor, right? If you're a PlayStation fan, there are these other bots that have outfits based on the PlayStation universe. So we got like Kratos, Nathan Drake, saw like Parappa the Rappa. As long as the gameplay is solid, the jumping isn't floaty, and I don't feel like I'm being cheated when I'm moving around the levels, I'm going to be happy to play it just to collect these bots, because I am a PlayStation fan. I want to see if they give me new skins, if they give me new skills, and I am interested to see what a proper Sony platformer looks like. The VR one was good. The one that came with the PlayStation was good. This is it. This is their time to shine. You got a golden goose right now, potentially gonna poop out a golden egg. We'll see when it releases on September 6th. Now we're gonna head over to Stalker 2. This will be the last game on our list, and I mentioned Frostpunk being maybe the hardest game. If not, it's going to be Stalker 2. Stalker 2 is brutal. So if you're a fan of like the Metro series, maybe even like a hardcore version of Fallout, you're gonna like Stalker. Taking place in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, or simply the zone as they call it, you're gonna have to fight to survive. This is not a game that's gonna hand you millions of bullets, food, and all that. You're gonna have to scavenge like a hyena or a rat to survive. The radiation here has changed not only the land, but the creatures you encounter as well. I mean, one of the early things we saw was a literally ball lightning just floating around, and everyone was kind of like, yeah, that's normal. So there's gonna be a lot of trial and error. Outside of the chaos, you will join other survivors in their outposts, their cities, their bunkers and everything. They'll help you earn more rep, get different quests, and of course, get more gear. And while they're going to sit inside and hide, you don't really get that luxury. The zone and the enemies inside the zone are yours to tame. The question is, are you going to take the challenge? Stalker 2 releases on September 5th, assuming there's no more delays. These dudes were in the Ukraine, so it totally could get pushed to 2025. Holy crap, and 15 minutes later, we are done. Those are the big games that I think are going to hit this year. Yes, there's tons more, but let's be real with each other. You've only got X amount of money and X amount of time. So if you're going to waste it on 10 games, these are your 10. That's going to do it for me. Have a good one. Later, Gators.